So interestingly, this session after the artisan session is on craft and design, and of course, ABCD, the fabulous infrastructure which we see now, is a true testimony to how craft and design has been infused and been worked together between designers and artisans. So that's something which is really commendable. And to begin, before we begin the discussions with all the people who are sitting here, I would like to really congratulate and thanks ABCD team, especially Supriya. I've been seeing her running for pole to post for last 2 years and making this a reality. So a huge round of applause for Supriya. I mean, formally, of course, Prime Minister was supposed to come and we had to clap then, but unfortunately missed that opportunity. No problems. When I was looking at the profile, from Aman, Gopal, Surekha to Pooja, Rashmi, Nandita, Ayush, and Gunjan, there were few key findings, that came to the whole thing. One of that was game design, right? And whether chess set or you're talking about Ganjifa cards, you're looking at how games have been changing, from the tradition to the modernity. So, principal point is one of game. Second is of space. We always say that fashion as a sector has always been working with craft very, very closely. But if you look at the architecture around, of course, we are in a historic building of Red Fort. But if you just go outside and look at the Delhi, for that matter, where do you see craft? I've never seen craft getting really infused with interior architecture. And I'm sure that I'm going to ask some questions to Ayush, that why in such a challenging, stream, we have really not been able to do that. Coming to, we were recently in March, we held a conclave on sustainable fashion. Of course, knowing that fashion is one of the most polluting industry in the world. And we have people like Gunjan, who has been working on natural dyeing, natural indigo, and all those kind of things. So interestingly, this entire landscape of designers, craft, which we have today, I'm sure that there are a lot of takeaways which we are going to take from here. To begin this discussion, we can look at Aman. Aman, you come from a technology background, it seems, right? From my limited understanding. But you have been working in traditional game, looking at, and also studying that very, very deeply. So can you share a bit of your insight in terms of why did you pick up, the particular craft which you have really worked here? And do you think that the kind of game design which we are doing now, in the rapid change where people are mostly looking at VR, AR and all those kind of realities, playing games, how do we see these traditional things moving into modernity and finding a place?
Yeah, so I am a person from technology, no doubt about that. And back in 2000s and even till I'll say 2015 tak, gamification was a very big subject in technology. We used to talk about gamification. And as a technologist, it was also a solution to most problems. So if anybody had a problem, they would say gamify kar do, problem solve ho jayega. Essentially, if you look at this whole process of gamification, it is but a process of incentivization or awarding, right? So you create levels and you award and you keep awarding. It's a very linear thought process. It can be reduced to something very mathematical and something very strategy based. What essentially evolved is with my daughters getting born and all the parents wanting to give games to their daughters kind of thing. I chanced upon the Indian tradition of play. Now, the Indian tradition of play is significantly different from our modern understanding of games and gamification. Games and gamification have an outcome. You have to get somewhere, acquire something, have a sense of acquisition, reward. It's become the basic things which you deal with when you talk of gamification. But when you see an 8x8 square kind of a mandala etched on the floor of a temple between two pillars which have a good wind blowing through them, what do you really see? You see a community that was at play. You see a community that was creating their own rules. you see a community that was not so bothered about the objective of the play, but bothered about the engagement of the play. And the deeper I started reading about the tradition of play in India, I started discovering a world that was unbelievable. In our modern context, if you look at strategy, if you look at communication, if you look at engagement, eyeballs, I don't think that there is a better platform than the tradition of play in India, except that we just need to understand it and sort of absorb it in our modern context. And I think that's what we've been trying to do with Buddhi Yoga and the Ministry of Education, etc. But it's a very, very evolved platform. The platform or the play tradition of India is an extremely evolved platform with two distinct segments, Buddhi Yoga and Buddhi Bala. Buddhi Yoga is how you disseminate knowledge, and Buddhi Bal is how you test the personality of a person. So I think these are basically, I really don't see the BCAD line defining the tradition of play in our modern context. It's just that our worldview has changed, but our engagement is still the same.
Thank you, Aman. Though it's interesting to know your perspectives. Anyways, we will come back to, of course, a bit of disagreements also we are going to do today.
Yeah,
I mean, we just don't want to agree on everything and say that, okay, what you're telling is, just the, because, perspective. I mean, we are living into actually a divided world. So coming to puja, one of the critical points which we have always been arguing, whenever, we had closed door meetings with ABCD team, IGNCA, Ministry of Culture, the point is, we call craft, right? Craft, correct? But craft also defines into a larger genre of cultural products. They are actually cultural products, right? And therefore, if you look at the connection of IGNCA or Ministry of Culture, why it is connected? It is because it is cultural product, right? Now, within the realm of cultural products and the definition, and from three-dimensional gaming, which is, of course, creating a chaturanga, which is interestingly a form of chess, to something which is Ganjifa card, which is more of a two-dimensional form. Again, the concept of play, interaction, interactivity, everything comes in. What has been your experience while developing this? Because Ganjifa, it seems like a rare art, right? Now, I mean, rarely you see them actually. I mean, rarely you find the artisans. So I'm sure that you must have had a lot of challenges on that. So can you share a bit about your thought? How do you started and what's been so unique about doing this entire, initiative?
Thank you, Somesh, for this question that you've asked me. Just to give you a slight backdrop, हम लोग क्या करते हैं? हमारा जो ब्रांड पोर्टली है, हम लोग लार्जली बच्चों के लिए, तो हम लार्जली बच्चों को हमारी जो सांस्कृतिक कलाएं हैं, हमारा जो कल्चरल हेरिटेज है, उसके बारे में जानकारी देने के लिए हमने एक माध्यम ढूंढा है, बिकॉज वी फील दैट फॉर एवरी चाइल्ड play comes very naturally, and through play and game, if they learn about our cultural heritage, the stories and our roots, and also the traditional wisdom also comes with our with the cultural heritage. तो हमारा ये रहा है काम शुरू से कि हम बच्चों को अपने कल्चरल हेरिटेज के बारे में जानकारी दें थ्रू गेम्स और थ्रू इंटरैक्टिव एंगेजमेंट. तो while we do this, हमारा मेन मकसद ये रहता है टू सिंप्लीफाई एवरीथिंग. तो हमने ये देखा है कि काफ़ी कल्चरल हेरिटेज में हम जब देखते हैं, एक वो बच्चों के नज़रिए से अगर हम देखें तो हमने एक भारी भरकम सी चीज़ बना दी थी. हर एक चीज़ को बहुत हमने इंटेलेक्चुअलाइज भी करा है. हम लोग बड़ों की आदत है हर एक चीज़ को बहुत इंटेलेक्चुअलाइज करके म्यूज़ियम में बना के वो सब डालना. तो हमारा ये मकसद रहा है कि हम हर एक चीज़ को सिंप्लीफाई कैसे करें उसकी जड़ तक, ताकि बच्चों को हम लोग आसानी से बच्चों तक ले जा सके. और इसका भी एक कारण रहा है. आई थिंक अभी तक पहले ये जितना हमारा इंटेंजिबल कल्चरल हेरिटेज था वो एक पीढ़ी से दूसरी पीढ़ी तक हमारे जो हर रोज की जो हमारी जो एक्टिविटीज होती थी, हमारा जो डेली लाइफ जिस तरह से हम जीते थे, a lot of it was passed on from one generation to the other. तो अभी हम जो देखते हैं कि हम लोगों का लाइफस्टाइल बदल गया है, हम लोग बिल्कुल ही लाइफस्टाइल बदल गया है हमारा, तो वो बीच में बहुत बड़ा गैप आ गया है. तो ये जो हमारे जो नेचुरली विद इन फैमिलीज जो एक जनरेशन से दूसरी जनरेशन तक की जो लर्निंग होती थी वो ख़त्म हो गई है. तो अभी हमने ये कल्चरल पैकेजेस कह लो आप, या बच्चों के लिए हम लोग बनाते हैं. हमारा मेन मकसद है कि हम ये जो नॉलेज जो है जो पास ऑन होती थी, वो जो गैप आ गया है, हम उसको कैसे प्लग इन करें इन एक्टिविटीज से. तो इसी के बीच में हमने जब हम लोग ये हम काफ़ी अलग अलग स्टेट्स में, आई थिंक हमारे कोई लगभग 90 या 100 अलग अलग ऐसे हमने इंटरैक्टिव किट्स बनाए हुए हैं बच्चों के लिए. हम जब ये कर रहे थे तो हम गंजीफा, वी हैपन टू कम अक्रॉस गंजीफा. दिस इज about 20 years ago I came across Ganjifa in a village in Orissa. और तब हम मतलब सिर्फ 2 ही आर्टिजन्स, मेरे को हम काफ़ी घूमे, सिर्फ 2 आर्टिजन्स मिले थे उस समय 20 साल पहले जो गंजीफा के बारे में जिनको जानकारी थी. और जब हम गांव में गए तो गांव में जब हमने पूछा उनसे कि ये कार्ड क्या है, तो आर्टिजन्स ने बोला कोस्टर है. तो जब आर्टिजन्स ने बोला कोस्टर है तो हमें लगा कि ये तो गलत है. मतलब आर्टिजन्स भी, क्योंकि डिमांड, लोगों को गेम के बारे में नहीं पता, लोग उसको कोस्टर की तरह इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, तो आर्टिजन का पर्सपेक्टिव भी बदल गया है. तो हमको 2 आर्टिजन्स मिले और मुझे अभी भी याद है, हमको सबसे पहले लोनली प्लैनेट ने फंड किया था ये 1 साल के लिए कि ठीक है आप इसको जारी रखिए, इसको आप किसी तरह से 2 से 4 या 6 लोग करिए. तो जब सबसे पहले उन्होंने पूछा मुझसे कि आपको क्या फंडिंग चाहिए, मैंने कहा मुझे ना गांव के बाहर एक एम्बुलेंस खड़ी कर दो, क्योंकि जो 2 लोग हैं वो इतने बुजुर्ग थे. जब से हमने शुरू देखा इन लोगों गंजीफा के बारे में, और जब हमने इसके ऊपर हमने काम शुरू किया, उसमें कोई 4-5 साल हो गए थे, और उस 4-5 साल में 5 में से सिर्फ 2 व्यक्ति, 2 आर्टिजन बचे थे, बाकी इतनी उम्र हो गई थी वो चल बसे थे. तो हमें बस ये था कि जब तक ये हैं तब तक हम जितना कुछ और 2-4 लोगों को सिखा लें. तो वहाँ से हमने शुरुआत की, और काफ़ी उसमें गंजीफा में हमने काफ़ी करा, इसमें इसको काफ़ी हमने बढ़ाया. और अभी जैसे आप कह रहे थे टेक्नोलॉजी, अभी बहुत लोगों ने हमको अप्रोच किया है कि इसको आप एक ऐप बेस्ड गेम क्यों नहीं बनाते. हम अभी उस सोच में हैं कि वो करा जाए या ना करा जाए. आई एम नॉट टोटली अगेंस्ट इट ऑल्सो, क्योंकि हमारा मकसद है इसको ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा बच्चों तक पहुँचाना, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों तक पहुँचाना. तो अभी हम उसी कश्मकश में हैं कि इसको हम कितना टेक्नोलॉजी में इस्तेमाल करें और कितना इसको हम हैंडमेड रखें. लेकिन हमारे सारे प्रोजेक्ट में जो आर्टिजन्स हैं वो हमारे एक टीम इकट्ठे ही, सो दे आर ग्रोइंग अलोंग विद द ब्रांड. तो संक्षिप्त में ये कहूँगी कि मेरे ख्याल से ये जो गेम्स हैं, इनका गेम्स कह लें आप, या जो हमारी क्राफ्ट्स हैं, ये सिर्फ एक एक्टिविटी नहीं है, ये एक पूरी एक हमारी सांस्कृतिक मतलब पूरी एक हिस्ट्री है, पूरी लेगेसी है. उसमें हमारे कल्चरल हेरिटेज में हमारे रहने का तरीका, रहन सहन, कपड़े, खाना पीना, सब कुछ उसमें आता है. सो इट्स नॉट जस्ट एन एक्टिविटी, इट्स अ होल कम्युनिटी विच इज रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय अ क्राफ्ट. तो हम ये इसको आगे बच्चों तक ले जाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
फैंटास्टिक, बहुत बढ़िया. और आप इस सफर को जारी रखें. आई एम श्योर दैट more and more is going to come. I'm going to now move to Nandita, because of course we are talking about Ganjifa. So Nandita, what's been your experience? I mean, you've heard yours. What's been your experience in terms of integrating design into this entire craft process?
First of all, I kind of feel very embarrassed to be called a designer because I have no design training. And by default, I've become a designer sometimes a consultant. So I really don't know the label, but I know what to do. And the reason why I started to work was because I had a lot of experience in running Crafts Council and these kind of, NGOs. And I could see कि artisan को तकलीफ कहाँ पे है. And the premise on which I started to work, I don't only work with Shola, because Shola you see here. So my main idea was to actually, what I understood was the artisan has been doing what they are doing 200-300 साल से वो कर रहा है, लेकिन वो कर रहा था अपनी कम्युनिटी के लिए जिसे वो पहचानता है, जानता है। अब उसका मार्केट एक अनोनिमस अनजान व्यक्ति है जिसके बारे में उसको कोई खबर नहीं है, लेकिन अभी भी गवर्नमेंट की सपोर्ट से या इधर उधर का जहाँ से भी सपोर्ट आता है उससे वो वही सामान बना बना के उनके पास दे रहा है, लेकिन कोई खरीदने वाला नहीं है क्योंकि वो जो खरीदार है उसके पैसे के वो लायक नहीं है। सो आई थॉट आई शुड इंटरफेस दिस गैप एंड द मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव जो मैंने रखा जब आई बिगैन वाज हाउ कैन आई बिकम रिडंडेंट, बिकॉज माई सक्सेस विल बी ओनली जब उन्हें मेरी ज़रूरत नहीं होगी। इसीलिए मैंने कोई कंपनी भी नहीं बनाई, कुछ नहीं बनाई, और आई सपोज मेरे जो बंगाली जीन्स है उसमें सेलिंग और मनी बहुत अच्छे से मैच नहीं करती, तो आई हैड नो मोटिवेशन फॉर मेकिंग प्रोडक्ट्स. So it's like, say, if I give you the example of, like Ganjifa, I did in 2002, I did a survey all over India. Kishore Govardhan Das is the biggest collector of Ganjifa. Sawantwadi की जो queen थी, उसने अपना जगह दिया. बंगाल में एक ही गंजीफा वाला है, जहाँ politics used to map onto the game. So all of that we did, but I expected कि कोई marketing वाला, तब पूजा नहीं थी, तो कोई पूजा जैसा आके मेरे रिसर्च को लेके उसको आगे बढ़ाएगा. And this is the same intention with which I work with all the crafts. So like जैसे जो क्राफ्ट्स म्यूजियम के डायरेक्टर है वो पूछ रहे थे कि how he was asking Venkatesh, I think there was a gap in the understanding that अब नेक्स्ट क्या होगा, क्योंकि हिंदू आइकोनोग्राफी, रामायण और महाभारत ये सब तो रमेश सिप्पी ये लोग टीवी पे हम लोग से बहुत अच्छा करते हैं, तो फिर रामायण की कहानी हमसे क्यों कोई सुनेगा. So then what is the way? So I worked with Patachitra. This was from 2003 to 2010 with UNAIDS. तब WHO की एक गलत डेटा थी कि इंडिया में HIV बहुत ज़्यादा है और यहाँ पे फंडिंग आने लगी थी, तो थोड़ा बहुत हम लोग को भी मिला. तो उसी से we started doing social messaging about the stigma issues of HIV and AIDS, and where in the Sadar hospital it was available. The testimonials of people जिनको HIV हुआ लेकिन उन्होंने रेट्रोवायरल्स खा के वो सर्वाइव किए, और फिर जो जिनकी कहानियाँ थी वही कहानियों का हम लोगों ने पटचित्र बना बना के पटचित्र लोगों को एक मेडिकल टीम के साथ गांव-गांव घुमाने का पैकेज बनाया. 3-4 साल का ये पायलट प्रोजेक्ट करके फिर हमने इसे गवर्नमेंट को हैंड ओवर किया. इसी तरह से चंदनगर लाइट्स होता है जो एक डेकोरेटिव चीज़ है जो सिर्फ फेस्टिवल के समय आदमी को काम मिलता है जो कारीगर है, बट दे आर वे अबव दैट, दे आर कारीगर्स ऑल द ईयर राउंड, लेकिन उनको इलेक्ट्रिशियन बन जाना पड़ता है, ऑटो चलाना पड़ता है, खेत में काम करना पड़ता है. So then I started designing something like a 3-dimensional, which we first got a chance to do in England as a bajra, as a peacock bajra, which was 80 feet across. It went round Tate Modern and all that. Unfortunately, India में किसी को शौक ही नहीं अपनी चीज़ों का. हम अपने बच्चों को स्कूल में तो अभी तक क्रिसमस ट्री कटवा रहे हैं, तो फिर क्राफ्ट का भविष्य क्या हो सकता है बोलिए, अगर हम ही गिने चुने लोग आपस में बात करते रहे और रियली नींव पे हम चेंजेस न ला सके. तो अब ये जो 16 की चीज़ है, जो आप जो बड़े बड़े स्कल्पचर्स देख रहे हैं, वो हमने जस्ट एक एग्जीबिशन बनाना चाहा कॉल्ड ट्रांसलेशंस, बिकॉज आई फील आर्टिजन्स डोंट नो द अदर क्राफ्ट्स, they have no inspiration, they don't visit museums, they don't know anything except वो जो रोजमर्रे की उनकी जिंदगी है. तो I started doing something with कलमकारी ट्री ऑफ लाइफ, उसको let's try to make it in शोला. अब जिस आदमी को इतना टैलेंट है वो सिर्फ दुर्गा का मुंह बनाए चला जा रहा है 200 साल तक, अब वो ये बना रहा है. Now there is a very good platform called Baro in Bombay जो इसे बहुत अच्छे प्राइस में बेच रहा है और आर्टिजन्स बहुत खुश है इससे. तो इसी मॉडल पे मैं चलती रहती हूँ, जैसे वो अच्छा बनाने लगते हैं मैं निकल जाती हूँ वहाँ से और फिर दूसरा और एक क्राफ्ट उसको सीख के फिर उसमें इंटरवेंशन करने की कोशिश करती हूँ.
Interesting. So you are a transdisciplinary person, right? And looking at a crossover of
master
crafts.
of none and jack of all.
Interesting. So coming back to Rashmi, I was looking at the points told by the artisan in Tholu Bamalata, right? One principal question I have is each of the craft have a specific genre. Something is product, something is communication, something is experience. There are genres to each craft, right? But unfortunately, over a period of time, मधुबनी जैसे दीवार से उतर के साड़ियों में आ गई, दुपट्टों में भी आ गई है. Everything is getting, mix and match, right? As a result, the bigger problem I see is that every craft form is going to compete with each other. They are not going to create a unique market for them. In such a scenario, I mean, when we look at a craft like Tholu Bamalata, right? सबसे पहला तो उसका प्रॉब्लम ये है कि वो लैम्प शेड बनाते हैं. तो अगर वो दिल्ली हाट में एग्जीबिशन के लिए आएंगे और उन्होंने 50 लैम्प लेके आना है तो उन्हें बॉगी बुक करनी पड़ती है, बिकॉज उसका और कोई तरीका नहीं है. या 2,500 का लैम्प है, यूएस में कस्टमर है जिसको लैम्प चाहिए तो 10,000 रुपये का शिपिंग देना पड़ता है. तो पॉइंट ये है कि कई ऐसी प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम है, एंड आई एम श्योर दैट यू नो अबाउट इट, राइट? Still, my question to you is that you've been working with this craft besides product diversification, right? Which is, of course, they are doing lampshades and everything. How do you think that this communication, right, which is narrative art, Tholu Bamalata as a narrative art, can really be leveraged into the contemporary context?
I just want to put a little bit of context of us as designers and working with craft communities. I think the core issue or concern or the point that we need to address is that working with craft communities or anybody for that matter, the approach has to be of problem solving and bringing context, whatever that is. That can be a craft, that can be anything. Wherever we are working, if we approach it from the problem solving aspect and bringing context to it, something would come out, and that can be less relevant, more relevant, but it would be something that would at least solve some answers for us and the community at large. Coming in particular to Tholu Bamalata, so I've been working with this craft for last 12 years almost now. And like you rightly said, Somesh, Venkatesh is like always on my mind. So, when I started, it was from the heritage value, and I've always wanted to preserve this heritage value. I'm telling you a very emotional aspect of it, that when I went to this cluster, I kind of fell in love with these puppets, and I just said that I have to do something here. And I had gone to Venkatesh's family, and this craft was languishing, as in puppet shows are not so much, simply because like all of us just said, and we know that, the context of Ramayana, Mahabharata might look interesting to us, but do we want to really see it for an hour show, or engage in that sense? Are we even ready to do that? So we have to work parallelly. One is about working on the heritage aspect of the craft. Definitely, how do we preserve that? What are the things that we can do to preserve that and keep it intact? And second, which is very, very important, is the product diversification, because the sustenance of the community depends on that. And so we have worked parallelly on both the things as Studio Moya. And Tholu Bamalata is not the only craft that I've worked with. It's multiple other crafts, and the approach remains same. Like we are saying, Pooja working with games, the gamification that he talked about, we are all trying to bring context here, right? So how can we make it relevant to today's people? The lamps that you were making, it's so true that the first thing that they said was ki ma'am, exhibitions mein jate hain to matlab itna problem hai. So if you notice, the lamps that they make, they're all shaped like this, simply for the reason that they are stackable. And that's the reason why they've not been able to do much of design innovation. So when I started working, another thing that is very important is that, which I delve deep into, is understanding the medium, the raw material of that craft. How sustainable is it? What is the source of it? Can it be replaced by something new age? Because we have evolved, craft should also evolve. So all of these things are very important when we start doing product development. So we try to do a foldable lampshade with this leather, but the material does not allow it to be such. We did, customer from US was very keen on carrying a bunch of lampshades, but for the obvious reason, जितना lamp का दाम नहीं उतना उसका courier में लग जाना था. So, you know, we've lost customers because of that. So these are very real-time concerns which come to us, and we try to solve it with different approaches of looking at the craft. So the products that are there, so we've done coasters, not just lamps, we've done wall paintings, and these wall paintings are not about just mythological expressions, but very contemporary expressions. Puppets kya hai? Dolls hai. So we worked with Karuna Dolls project under Creative Dignity. We did Tolu Bomalata dolls, you know, bringing a very contemporary story, how a little girl imagines herself transcending into an era of, you know, Ramayana, Mahabharata, where she's incarnating herself as a doll and she plays with it. We give the story. We can do pretend play. Here at IGNCA gave us the wonderful opportunity to bring this craft into multiple concepts again. So we did a pretend play kit where shadow puppetry can be done. We have given cue cards where kids can play and interact with the craft. So to cut the long story short, there are multiple aspects how we bring context. It can be the heritage. It can be products. It can be through experience and engagement. It can be through workshops, how we engage the current present day consumer, whether it be kids, whether it's adults, whether it is, you know, professionals, designers, interior designers, multiple level. We have to create a multi-sensory engagement at different levels with crafts. Only then the community and the designers can thrive, I think. Yeah.
So one of the important points, Supriya, you know, this is a takeaway for you, that when we look at artisans for training, I think most critical mistake which we do is we call artisans. I'll give you an example of Tholu Bamalata. Tholu Bamalata has two components. So leather work is being done by these artisans. The frame, metal frame, that is being made by somebody else. Now imagine for the moment, and we did that as a trial, we created the metal frame completely dismantled. Totally dismantled, and then the leather top on top of that can be rolled like a canvas. Now the entire volume shrunk to almost a small, you know, piece, right? And it changed the entire game. So the point is, even in trainings like this, I suggest that whenever ABCD moves into the next phase of the project, should look at core plus allied, you know, intervention, so that only not artisans, but also people who are working with them can get trained into metal, wood, and other kind of things, you know, which are the allied things which is there, right? So I'm sure that you would agree as Rashmi.
That's correct, because the leather that is there. So when I started working in this cluster, the first thing that came to my mind was, chalo bag banate hain, you know, but this leather is hand treated. And I have learned along this journey together, and you know, now they also know कि अगर bag बनाना है तो उस leather को कैसे treat करना है. So you know, for product diversification, it's very important that we establish resources at the source so that these artisans can diversify along with the products that we are making.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming to Ayush. So Ayush, I've been to your store in Jaipur. Your wife was kind enough to take me through each of your products. Right, and I also visited one of the hotels in Bikaner, which was done by you. I don't remember the name exactly, but it was a beautiful hotel and a mini palace. So looking from that experience, I thought that you've been doing a wonderful work in interior architecture, linking crafts, right? And this is one very important point, because as I was telling in the beginning of you know, today's session, fashion and textile designers, right, have extensively worked with craft sector, extensively, right? Then communication and graphic designers have also worked. And Doordarshan, you see so many, you know, films. Remember animated films, right? They were defined from miniature, they were defined from flood paintings and all that, right? But very, very rarely, interior and architects have really worked on this particular stream. And this is the world around what it is today is the, you know, is the outcome of that. One of the very interesting findings, in fact, you know, the legendary architect who passed away, you know, if you look at his plan is into a miniature painting, correct? And he will draw all his plans in a miniature painting. So the bottom of it is the closest and the top of that is the farthest, right? That's how they have defined. So Ayush, in such a challenging world where everybody is looking at modularity, everybody is looking at glass and metal, and we are looking at completely redefining the entire cityscape, how you have been really able to hold tradition with modernity is my big question to you.
There was a talk of defining what is a craft. When I finished my studies, I was, confused with what is art, what is craft, what is design. And to simplify it, I said craft is essentially the act of making, period. You can make food, you can cut hair. The moment you make something tangible, you're using a crafting process. Also, very often we get, and these are strictly my personal definitions, is we try and narrow down the window of craft to something that is only handmade. We're actually in a wide spectrum, from hard industry where there's nothing human involved, like say making of a cell phone, to something that is purely hand done, which is something like what is being done in when you do a dhokra craft, that lost waxing. So when we look at the entire spectrum and we see where is it that particular craft form is being derived from, we notice that there is industrial and human hands that come together in very unique ways. In the world of fashion, we might have a handmade textiles that's stitched on a machine. So for me, looking at these points of collaboration, the center of which is the human being. How do we make something that is essentially human? Say, for example, when we lay the floor, is it something that can be done mostly by human intervention using tools? So I think the question of how do we integrate crafts in the built environment, if you raise that question, the act of building is very, very largely still in India hand done. And here, look at the person who's doing POP work. Look at the person who's making a brick wall. Now, making a straight brick wall is not easy. Laying a good stone floor is not easy. So instead of looking at a craft which has a name, Tolu Bomalata, or blue pottery, if we see where is it that the human hand is coming into play, we might have a bigger window to look at. So, if you look at, say, the mosaic tiles that are made, there's a very strong hand component involved in that as well. So I think for us to widen that horizon and say, look at these modern crafts that are coming up. We spoke about water hyacinth. Have you seen the construction vessels made out of used tires? That's as much a craft as is anything else. So for us to widen the scope of what do we consider a craft would be a very essential question, especially when we look at the built environment. And if we compare, the built environment actually uses far more craft skills than the fashion industry. We see the fashion industry more because उसमें कपड़ा बना के फोल्ड करके व्यापार किया जा सकता है, लेकिन बिल्डिंग तो एक बार बनी और वहीं पे ही रह गई, दोबारा नहीं बनी. So we don't see the extent to which crafts are used in the built environment. Also, there are a lot of crafts that have been industrialized. And here, let's be very objective. A lot of us might have heard of Hermes, which is a very, famous brand in Europe. Uska genesis kya tha? वो घोड़े की जीवड़ी बनाते थे. They were saddle makers. How do we take our craft skills and amplify it to the point where it is something that holds its own? So, I mean, these are very many and very varied, questions and approaches. But to look at the built environment from that perspective is very important. The concerns that the built environment also has are time, money. If it takes an artisan a year to make a product which industrially can be produced within a month, the cost of interest alone is very significant. We're looking at steel architecture coming up right now. The primary sale factor, even though it's more expensive, is the time that it takes. And here, it is not that, I don't know, I know it's part of a myth or whatever, but Ajmer mein 2.5 दिन का झोंपड़ा बोल करके there's a mosque. Right? बोला जाता है कि 2.5 दिन में बनाया गया है. Here I would say, how do we work with crafts to make it efficient And when we talk about modularity, a lot of temples in the south are very modular. There are things that were made on the floor and put together, often transported over long distances. So very often, we ourselves I won't say demean, but do not look at the potential that crafts have and reduce it to the lowest common denominator. The fact is also that we are a huge country with a lot of craftspeople. So for us to look at craft not just as an act of making, but something that is a social requirement. Because अगर सारे बनाने वाले अगर बेरोजगार हो गए तो तबाही होने वाली है. So to look at crafts from multiple perspectives and see how do we incorporate it more and more within our largest consumer of a skill would be a very relevant thing. In fact, Triple ID had come out with a manifesto on how to work with crafts, because it's not just using something handmade, but also acknowledging it, also educating clients, also talking about it, sharing credit. There's many things that also go into it. So perhaps I could share that manifesto with whoever would like to at a later date.
Thank you, Ayush. Quite a insightful thing, especially because, buildings and, large scale projects are always very challenging. And you're right, of course, money is the major. If they are not able to make profits, they are not bothered about, whether you use craft or not. But, whatever conversation you just did, there are two very important takeaways which is coming out of that. First, do we have know-how documented somewhere? Dhai din, right? In that somebody's made it, right? It's been possible. How did they do it? Where is that know-how? So that know-how is not available. We are able to access all those things time and again, but we don't get it. So Supriya, that is one, right? Second is tools. It's very important. I think we have worked a lot in product. We have worked a lot in process, but we have really not worked a lot in tools. Tool design has been one of the most neglected part of the craft sector. Every bean I've been working, right? So tool is basically a support system. So if it takes 6 hours, how can that be converted into 30 minutes, right? And if that reduction is done, the game changes. It becomes handmade and still there's so much of potential. So these are two very important things. But the third very important point is also about sustainability, right? And interior architecture, I mean, look at the environment, how things are, how each place is warming up. And government has put 28% on even, GST on air conditions. So even when you are going to buy air condition, it will be expensive. The point is, it's time to think that how we bring in sustainable concept, which used to use wind energy or wind, solar and other parts to make sure that the building remains cool, and how wisely we are able to use the wind channels to make the entire. And in Kashan, in Iran, when I went for the World Craft City jury, fantastic. I mean, the way they made the entire city is unbelievable. And in summers of 50 degrees Celsius, if you be inside those buildings, it is 22 degrees Celsius without any, air conditioning, without any energy. So that is there. I mean, in the world, we have examples like that. So coming from sustainability to now Gunjan, and of course, one of the most challenging and favorite topics, natural dyeing, right, is a fast disappearing concept. And one of the most important thing is, of course, the know-how, because it's not documented. Second is, as Ayush was saying, time consuming. Third is inconsistency. Fourth is cost of production. There are so many issues, so many aspects to it. And indigo, of course, is one of the most favorite dyes. I mean, I've always seen that a lot of foreigners, a lot of brands which come from internationally, they always look for natural indigo. You've been working with Avni, right, in Kumayu, and of course you're wearing an indigo sari, right?
It's not a natural indigo. Sorry.
But that's okay. It's still indigo, right? Rashmi, are you wearing the natural indigo? No, Rashmi is wearing natural indigo. Supriya, I'm sure you are also wearing a natural indigo. Interesting. So, how do you see that, where fashion is becoming fast, faster, fastest, and then now there is a new term which is smart. I mean, I really still have to figure out what does that mean. I mean, it's such a scenario, and Zara now delivering fashion every 3 weeks, right? How do you see that? I mean, concept like this of natural indigo is really going to survive into the fastest fashion scene, you know, which the world is witnessing. What is your thought about it?
Thank you so much for the question. Actually, I work with Orissa weavers primarily under my studio name Vriksh for last 15 years. And with Avni, I was attached as a freelance designer for the ABCD project that you see in one of the rooms, where I worked with Avni's weavers on Harsil wool and natural indigo. पर उड़ीसा में मैं नेचुरल इंडिगो के साथ काम नहीं करती, हमें बहुत डर लगता है इंडिगो से. इट्स क्वाइट अ कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रोसेस, बट एट द सेम टाइम दैट्स व्हाट इज एक्साइटिंग अबाउट इट. वी वर्क विद अदर नेचुरल डाइज इन इंडिगो लाइक लाख, जहाँ से बहुत खूबसूरत एक पिंक कलर निकलता है, गुलाबी. मंजिष्ट वी यूज फॉर रेड, कैटिचू फॉर ब्राउन. जैकफ्रूट bark gives a beautiful yellow. Beyond, of course, you know, the rind of anar ka chilka that gives yellow as well. And indigo और yellow को मिला के हमारा बहुत खूबसूरत पिस्ता green निकलता है, which I learned over the years. I've been also working with Dabu block printers in Kala Dera, and that's where my first engagement with indigo happened. Having said that, it's a very interesting question you asked. And I was also, when we started working with natural dyes, we all know about the history of Neel Vidrohi. और एक नील विद्रोह करके एक पूरा एक संगठन हुआ था, that's called the Blue Mutiny or the Indigo Mutiny. This happened in 1857, and that was 1857, around that time. Okay, I'm not too sure about the period, right? So if we go back to history then, and that is the time when Britishers discovered indigo. And they started exporting indigo. And it was so beneficial and profitable to them that they actually started forcing farmers in Bengal to convert their farms to indigo farming. Even if they weren't indigo farmers, they also started taxing farmers, you know, who would not be growing indigo. So it came to a point where we were thinking about an idea of sustainability that we're talking today. We also, that's why I always insist that we have to learn from our history and we have to keep repeating it, because history may be there are a lot of those hidden secrets and recipes that we may understand, and the mistakes we have done, to not repeat them again. In the end, what happened was, जो सारे farmers थे वो सब संगठित हुए, and they came together and they revolted against growing indigo. How about that? So I think there's a lot of, जो गांधी जी ने बोला ना, कि there's a fine line that we have to balance between need and greed. And that's something it's very important for us also in the craft sector to address today. You talked about fast fashion, you know, Zara and all of those big brands, H&M and all of those. You know, early in the day, someone talked about also textiles being such a highly polluted industry because of its chemical usage and the, you know, not so healthy disposal practices. When we look at all of that scenario and then we place natural dyeing as a practice, definitely we have to look into new ideas of reviving, promoting natural dyeing practices. But at the same time, we need to be very clever how to go about it. Rahi baat competing with fast fashion, I would say we have a different market. So the beauty about crafts in India, a lot of times I also, you know, get to hear this, क्योंकि हम इक्कत का काम करते हैं, उड़ीसा में बहुत बारीक काम है, हम जाला का काम करते हैं, प्योर सिल्क में करते हैं, तो एक उसकी कीमत होती है. तो वो ही बात है कि मसलिन की एक दफ़ा 150 काउंट की साड़ी भी बनती थी. कश्मीर में जाएंगे तो खातम बंद की बहुत ही महीन काम होता है और उसकी एक कीमत है. सो आई फील, बट एट द सेम टाइम आपको उड़ीसा जाएं, आप बंगाल जाएं, आप आंध्रा जाएं, आप कोई भी क्षेत्र में जाएंगे, आपको आज भी अफोर्डेबल रेट में लुंगी, धोती, गमछा प्योर कॉटन में हाथ का बुना हुआ मिलेगा. कई जगह तो खादी भी मिलेगा आपको. Something so basic that we all use in our daily lives. So I feel there is a market for every craft. We can't generalize or homogenize markets for every craft. And that's how I look at it even for natural dyeing practices, that definitely we have enough variety of chemical dyes as an option. There are also efforts to also look into, which I feel should be much stronger in terms of compliance of those chemical dyeing usage. There has been a big question on naphthol dyeing, for example, lately. But natural dyeing as a product needs to practice, and end product needs to be placed very strategically in a market that serves that purpose, where people are sensitized and can also afford that natural dyeing. And there is enough market. I mean, that I think what the advantage we have in India is the population. If there are a lot of craftspeople, there are also a lot of buyers, and we have different market segments. So I think that's how it's very important to address how we want to take natural dyeing forward. And definitely a lot of people across India have made different efforts. Indigo has been beautifully revived. जिस चीज का डर था वो आज एक, India is known for its fine natural dyeing, especially indigo practices. So yes, I think there's a lot of hope.
That's very, very nice. But one of the critical problems which I saw in Odisha is they were using naphthol dyes, which is of course globally banned. It's a clear cut, it's globally banned, but a lot of weavers are using it. Okay, they can use it, but one thing which I found very alarming was that they were dyeing where next to their hand pumps. I mean, okay, they want to dispose dyes, but it should not get mixed up with your drinking water.
Yes, that's why I'm saying there's a very strong dialogue right now, and a lot of weavers and practitioners have been apprised with this compliance of shifting from naphthol dye to vat dyeing.
Right. So look at the environment consciousness, I mean, the way we've been using urea to grow our crops, right? The same thing happened with all the chemical dyes, because they wanted to do faster dyeing and supply and just supply. But yes, this is definitely, compliance is another very important part of the dialogue for craft sector, because lot needs to be defined. And also what happens is, lot needs to be also thought in terms of, international documentation. For example, if you, send any wooden product, it has to have a fumigation certificate, correct? Now, interesting point is many of the artisans, if you are actually working on those products and looking for export market, may not be even aware of that. So, yeah, so the important point is, in fact, we just have 5-7 minutes more. I would like to end with Aman, of course, which we started with. So, Aman, we are living in a very critical time, I mean, transition period between past and future. And a lot about interaction which you're talking about. I mean, especially the next generation, which is, young generation. If you look at people from childhood to 18 to 22nd, Instagram savvy, social media savvy, all those things. How do you think that these traditional, games are really going to draw them? And another point very interesting was that people were talking about developing app. Not a bad idea. How do you really, look at integrating physical forms, physical games with the virtual games, right? How do you look at a scenario like that? So what are you thinking on that?
Technology is going to become a part of our lifestyle going forward. And it has already become a part of our lifestyle. In many ways, it has also changed us as people and our perspectives from what we used to look at the world when we were 20 to how we see the world today when we are 50 is also something that difficult to digest if you really sit down and think about it. The next generation, to be able to put myself in their shoes, it's going to be a very big challenge. It's not very easy for a 50-year-old to think like a 20-year-old or experience the world like a 20-year-old. So I won't take the liberty of trying to say how they are going to take it. but I know they don't have an option. They, as going forward, they are going to work their environment with their own tools. Having said that, I will also say that the past is as relevant to us as the present in the future as well. So you can't really change truth, right? It finds its place in your lifestyle as you go forward. So I'm sure that the traditional practices of play will automatically emerge in the lifestyle of the next generation as well. The only role I think that I could possibly play is the role of the bridge. Maybe take the tradition, interpret it from my worldview, and present it in a manner that I think the next generation could at least experience a part of it. How they will absorb it and how they will integrate with it, how much of it they will reject and how much of it will improve and be improvised and evolve into something which is permanent with the next generation. That will be a beautiful story to see on Netflix.
So everything finally ends into Amazon Prime or Netflix, you know. I mean, that's the reality. Thank you, Aman, for this lovely thought. And I'm sure that people who are listening to our conversation, it's been very insightful. And also, you know, I didn't want to talk about your work because it is already there in ABCD. Everybody can go read, understand, but also wanted to pick up points which can at least bring some food for thought for the people who are hearing this entire conversation. So thank you very much. We don't want to take any further time. Thank you so much.